Hey you, yeah, you, come here for a second. Because today, you're walking around with this heavy, twisted little secret. Your tough attacker is facing a health nightmare and lying to everyone. Let that sit for a moment. The same person who puffed their chest at you. The same one who made you feel small, scared, humiliated. The one who told you, straight-faced, that you were weak, is now fighting something inside their own body and pretending they're untouchable. And you're sitting there like, why do I feel so messed up about this? Why do I feel something? Because of course you do. You're not a robot. You're a human being who got hurt. Listen closely. When someone attacks you, abuses you, disrespects you, they don't just hurt you in the moment. They plant this virus in your head. A voice that whispers, you're powerless. You're nothing compared to them. They win. You lose. They walk away like it was just another day. You walk away shaking, replaying everything on loop like some broken highlight reel of your worst moments. Now fast forward. Everyone still thinks they're the strong one, the leader, the tough one, the one who has it together. But behind the scenes, doctor visits, test results, late-night panic, body failing, mind cracking. And what do? They slap on the same mask they used with you. I'm fine. Nothing's wrong. Everything's under control. They're lying to their friends. They're lying to their family. They're lying to themselves. And you're watching this from a distance thinking, what does this even mean? Is this karma? Is this justice? Am I allowed to feel relieved, angry, happy, guilty? Your brain is spinning. Your heart is confused. Let's untangle it. Slowly, brutally, honestly. First, let's talk about that tough act. People like that, they build their entire identity on being feared. Not respected, feared. They need people to flinch when they walk into a room. They need everyone convinced that they're the strongest, coldest, most unshakable person there. But here's the punchline. Anyone who needs that image is already weak. You don't see truly strong people running around screaming, look how strong I am. They don't need a fan club. They're busy living. Your attacker, they curated a brand, a persona, a costume. They bullied. They intimidated. They attacked you because they couldn't stand what they saw in you. Maybe it was your potential. Maybe it was your kindness. Maybe it was the fact that you still believed in something. Bullies don't pick on the worthless. They pick on the threatening. Remember that. Now here's where things get dark and complicated. You hear they're sick. Not a little cold. Not, oops, sprained my ankle. You hear words like serious, chronic, terminal, scary. And a part of you, some deep, damaged, angry part, lights up. Not because you're evil, not because you're a monster, but because suddenly the universe doesn't look so one-sided anymore. For once, the scoreboard flickers. This person who walked like they were invincible, they're not. They never were. Mortality just knocked on their door, and now they're shaking behind that I'm fine smile. And you think, where was my mercy when they came for me? Where was my protection? You start imagining them in the doctor's office. You imagine them hearing bad news. You imagine them alone, scared, pretending it's all good. And a tiny voice in you says, good. Now you know how it feels. Then another voice crashes in. What's wrong with me? Why am I thinking like this? Am I sick in the head? You are not sick. You are wounded. There's a difference. Here's the brutal truth nobody likes to say out loud. When you've been hurt deeply, your mind doesn't immediately jump to forgiveness and enlightenment. It jumps to balance. You want the scales even. You want something, anything, that proves the universe didn't just let them walk away clean while you bled in silence. You're not a saint. You're not required to be. But here's where you have a choice. You can let this turn you into a full-time spectator of their downfall, or you can use it as the final proof you needed that they were never as big as they looked in your head. Because that's the real prison, isn't it? They moved on. You didn't. You kept them alive in your mind like a ghost, stronger than life, larger than reality. They became this giant shadow, towering over every decision, every relationship, every risk you didn't take. A voice in your head saying, "Remember what happened last time you trusted, last time you spoke up, last time you tried." And now you find out the giant bleeds, the monster gets sick, the alpha is fragile. You see what that means? It means the prison bars were an illusion. Lean in, really, lean in mentally. Your attacker is facing a health nightmare. They're lying about it, trying to stay in control. You've been facing an internal nightmare for way longer. The anxiety, the flashbacks, the obsessive thinking, the anger that hits you in waves at 3 a.m. They hide their illness from the world. You were forced to hide your pain because nobody took it seriously enough. You both have secrets, but here's where you have the advantage. You're sitting here, right now, conscious of it. You're questioning, you're analyzing, you're aware. Do you understand how powerful that is? They're busy performing. You're busy evolving. They're clinging to an image. You're slowly, painfully building an identity. Let me flip your perspective. You're looking at this like they're sick. Maybe this is karma. But what if I told you this isn't about them at all? Their illness, their lies, their fake toughness. That's their story. That's their collapse. That's their house of cards finally shaking in a storm. Your lesson isn't, they got what they deserve. Your lesson is, they were never a god. They were human, and so am I. And if they can break, then I can rebuild. You don't need them to suffer to heal. Let me say that again because it's the part your ego will fight the hardest. You do not need their suffering to justify your healing. You are allowed to rise even if they never fall. But now that you've seen them crack, use it. Not to become cruel, not to become like them. Use it to finally destroy the myth in your head that they were above you, better than you, more powerful than you. Because clearly, they're not. Look at the pattern. They hurt you. They acted proud. You ended up with lifelong scars. Now they're sick. They act proud. They end up with what? Still alone. Still lying. Still pretending. The same mask that let them hurt you is the mask that now keeps them from asking for help. That's not power. That's a curse. You have something they don't. The opportunity to turn your pain into self-awareness, into boundaries, into strength that doesn't need an audience. They used power to avoid feeling weak. You can use weakness to become truly powerful. That's the difference between them and you. You know what real toughness looks like. It's not someone barking orders. It's not someone throwing threats. It's not someone pretending they're not scared. Real toughness is you waking up with your heart racing, your chest tight, your mind replaying that trauma, and still saying, "Fine, I'm getting up anyway." Real toughness is shaking while you speak the truth, not silencing yourself. Real toughness is setting a boundary and actually keeping it, even when every part of you wants to go back to what's familiar. Real toughness is not stalking their social media 5 times a day, hoping their life collapses. but quietly building yours like a slow-burning revolution. You want revenge. Here, I'll give you the most savage version. Live in a way that makes everything they tried to do to you look pointless. They wanted you small, grow. They wanted you scared, take risks anyway. They wanted you silent, use your voice. They wanted you to believe you'd never recover. Turn your recovery into a reality so undeniable that even your past self wouldn't recognize you. That's the kind of revenge that doesn't need an audience, but if anyone happens to witness it, they're never going to forget. You might be thinking, but Joker, I still feel this twisted satisfaction knowing they're going through hell. Of course you do. You're not made of stone. You were denied justice. You were denied closure. Your nervous system has been screaming for compensation. I'm not here to sanitize you. I'm not here to tell you what you're supposed to feel. You're allowed to acknowledge the part of you that thinks, finally, something hit them back. Just don't live there. Don't park your entire life in the neighborhood of their illness, their downfall, their drama. Because while you're busy obsessing, they're still dictating your emotional weather. Sunny when they struggle, stormy when they're fine. You really want that? You want your heart wired to their medical chart? No, you disconnect. You can look at the situation, not to yourself, and think, yeah, the world isn't as rigged as I thought. Then you turn your focus back to the one thing that's actually under your control. You. Let's talk about that health nightmare they're facing. Illness strips away illusions, fast. Suddenly that persona, that I'm untouchable performance, doesn't mean much when they're alone in a room with a diagnosis and no audience, no crowd to impress, no one to dominate, just them and themselves. Do you realize how terrifying that is for someone whose whole identity was built on control? They laughed when you were vulnerable. Now their body is making them vulnerable, whether they like it or not. They mocked you for being scared. Now fear probably sits in their chest like a stone, 24/7. And still, they cling to the act. They lie to everyone. Everything's fine, just a minor thing. Don't worry about me, because admitting the truth would require them to finally do what they've never done. Be real, but guess what? You've already been real. You've already cried. You've already broken. You've already collapsed and somehow kept going. You're ahead. You're not behind. You're not less than. You're not the weak one. You were just forced to face your demons earlier. So what do you do with all this? You don't DM them. You don't gloat. You don't send them some fake hope you're okay while secretly wanting them to crumble. You don't need to engage at all. You take this information as a mirror. You look at them and think, for years, I believed you were stronger than me. But the truth is, you were just louder. You were just meaner. You were just better at pretending. Then you look at yourself and admit, I survived you. I survived the version of me that believed you. And I'm still here, still growing, whether you exist or not. You don't owe them forgiveness. You don't owe them revenge. You don't owe them attention. You owe yourself a life that isn't orbiting around the gravity of what they did. They might be dealing with life or death. You're dealing with something just as serious. Will you spend the next few years replaying their role in your story, or finally stepping into your own? Look, the world is ugly sometimes. Good people suffer. Bad people skate. Justice doesn't always show up on schedule, but every now and then you get a moment like this. The mask slips. The strong one cracks. The bully gets humbled, not on your timeline, not with your control, but it happens, and when it does, that's your checkpoint. Not to throw a party, not to turn into some vengeful cartoon. It's your checkpoint to say, if they're not the monster I built up in my head, then maybe I don't have to be the victim I built up in my head either. You see the game clearly now. Power was never about volume. It was never about fear. It was never about who could hurt who first. Power is who learns, who evolves, who stops repeating the cycle. They were strong enough to hurt you, but are they strong enough to change? Maybe. Maybe not. You're here, listening, questioning, burning from the inside but still hungry for something better than revenge. That tells me everything I need to know. So you hold this truth. Your tough attacker is facing a health nightmare and lying to everyone. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to expose it. You don't have to dance on it. You let it be what it is. Proof that no one is untouchable. Proof that masks crack. Proof that pain doesn't check resumes or reputations. And then you ask yourself the real question. Now that you've seen their humanity, what are you going to do with yours? Because here's what almost nobody tells you when they talk about healing and moving on. You're not just dealing with memories. You're dealing with identity theft. That person didn't just hurt you in a moment. They hijacked the way you see yourself. They took that version of you who laughed louder, trusted easier, walked into rooms without scanning every face for danger, and they buried that version under fear, shame, and second-guessing. You started living like a downgraded copy of yourself. Same name, same face, different energy. You started trimming your personality to avoid conflict. You stopped saying what you really thought because you didn't want another situation. You started checking doors twice, messages 3 times, reading tone where there was none. They moved on with their fake toughness. You got stuck with a nervous system on permanent high alert. And here you are, hearing that this tough attacker is sick, hiding it, lying about it. You see the cracks forming in their armor, and something in you stirs like, wait, if they're not invincible, maybe everything they made me believe about myself isn't permanent either. That right there, that flicker, that tiny glitch in the story you've been telling yourself. That's your opening. You've been living inside a script they wrote. Don't speak up. You're weak. You're overreacting. Who's even gonna believe you? Those weren't just words. Those were commands, and your body obeyed them. Heart rate up, throat tight, mind foggy in moments you needed clarity the most. You weren't dramatic. You were conditioned, and then over time, you stopped needing them to say it. You started saying it to yourself. I'm probably just being sensitive. I shouldn't make it a big deal. I'll just handle it quietly. They didn't have to attack you forever because your brain kept the job running on autopilot. But look at what's happening. The person who wanted to look unshakable is literally being shaken from the inside by their own body. They're terrified someone might see it. Terrified someone might notice they're human. You've already been exposed. You've already had your breakdowns, your panic, your ugly crying, your I don't think I can do this anymore nights. You've already stood in emotional nakedness while everyone else walked around pretending life is fine. That means you're miles ahead in the one game that actually matters. The game of facing reality instead of hiding from it. Picture this for a second. Them waking up, feeling something's wrong, brushing it off because admitting it means being seen as weak. You, waking up, still carrying all those old scenes in your chest, and still choosing to face another day anyway. Whose struggle sounds stronger? The one hiding or the one facing? You keep seeing them as the alpha character, the villain with all the power, the one the camera follows. Meanwhile, the storyline has quietly shifted, and you're still acting like you're a background extra. You are not the side character in this plot. You're the one dealing with the long-term consequences, altering your behavior, questioning your beliefs, dragging yourself toward some kind of meaning in all this they clung to control. You're learning transformation, completely different league. Let's get brutally honest about something you rarely admit out loud. There's a part of you that wishes their life would just completely implode. Not because you're purely malicious, but because you want proof that the universe saw what happened to you. You want a receipt. You want to feel like the pain bounced back somewhere, that it didn't just die inside your chest and disappear. You imagine them getting the worst news. You imagine them being forced to feel helpless. You imagine them thinking back to how they treated people. You crave that scene where they finally get it, where their ego cracks, their mask melts, and they whisper, "I was wrong." And then your rational brain jumps in. "I shouldn't think that. I'm terrible for even imagining it." But that raw, angry part of you, that's the part that still believes justice is possible. Not legal justice, not social media justice, internal justice. The part that still believes pain can have weight, can mean something, can balance something out. I'm not here to shame that part of you. It's exhausted. It's tired of you always being the one who swallows everything and plays nice. You're allowed to feel the full, unfiltered mess of what you feel. You're just not meant to live chained to it forever. Think about this. While you're sitting here analyzing their illness, their lies, their fake strength, you're already doing something they avoid like the plague. Self-reflection. You're picking apart your own reactions. You're asking, why do I feel like this? What does this say about me? What do I do with this? That's not weakness. That's emotional intelligence waking up. You've been made to feel like your ability to feel deeply is a liability. Too sensitive, too intense, too much. But that same capacity to feel deeply, that's the engine that lets you grow, adapt, rewire yourself. Shallow people don't change. They just double down on the mask. Deep people change constantly, painfully, endlessly. They outgrow entire versions of themselves. Guess which category you're in. Here's something harsh that might sting a bit. If you stay obsessed with their downfall, you hand them the main role again. Your emotions, still orbiting them, your focus, still orbiting them, your sense of justice, your mood, your energy, all hanging on whether life punishes them enough to satisfy you. That's like keeping the villain as your home screen wallpaper and wondering why you can't relax. You deserve better than a life architected by someone who harmed you. That doesn't mean you forget what they did. It doesn't mean you suddenly become this soft, forgiving angel who wishes them love and light. You're not required to perform sainthood. It means you choose to stop letting them be the reference point for who you become next. They are not the standard you're reacting against every second. They're not the model you're trying to prove wrong every day. You're allowed to construct your life on something bigger than, I'll show them. Even if I'll show them is where you start. You don't have to stay there. Let's talk about something else people rarely unpack. The guilt of outgrowing your pain. You've been living inside this story for so long that a part of you feels like if you get better, if you really move on, you're betraying the version of you who got hurt. Like you're saying, it wasn't that bad, or it's fine now. You're scared that healing means minimizing what happened. It doesn't. Healing doesn't rewrite history. It rewrites your relationship to it. What they did doesn't magically become okay. It just stops being the ruler that measures every decision you make. Your attacker being sick doesn't erase what they did either. It doesn't give them a discount on accountability. You don't have to feel sorry for them. You don't have to feel anything for them if you don't want to. Your focus isn't their health chart. Your focus is your emotional chart. The question isn't, what does their illness say about karma? The question is, what does my reaction say about where I am in my own evolution? If you feel rage, you're not broken. If you feel a weird relief, you're not broken. If you feel confused and numb and unsettled, you're not broken. You're mid-process. Ah, my beautiful mistakes, my precious misfits, my divine glitches in the grand illusion. Welcome, welcome to the theater of the unwanted truth, the circus of sacred chaos, the sermon they never wanted you to hear. Let me tell you something they'll never say in those neat little motivational reels, the ones with smiling faces and pastel fonts. You're not crazy, you're not broken, you're not malfunctioning. No, you are a holy error in a cursed world. And that's the only reason you're still breathing. Because if you were like them, you'd be long gone. You'd have sold your mind, your magic, your memories at a discount to join the parade of programmable puppets. But you didn't, did you? You couldn't. Because somewhere deep in that brain of yours, something refused to shut up. Something refused to die quietly. They saw it. Oh, they saw it early. The way your eyes wandered in class. Not out of boredom, no. Out of awareness. The way you asked questions that made teachers twitch. The way you sat in rooms full of people and felt like a foreign god, stranded among mortals in meat suits. They called it a disorder. I call it divine interference. Let me tell you something cruelly beautiful. This world, this neat little prison with straight lines and plastic smiles, is built on a lie. And the moment you start to see through it, they diagnose you. You're too emotional? No, you feel the pulse of what they numb. You're too intense? No, you haven't been diluted yet. You're too distracted? No, you're connected to frequencies their ears can't hear. You're paranoid? No, you've just begun to see the cages behind the curtains. You're not broken. You are the only thing that still works. You ever notice how they obsess over normal, as if it's the Holy Grail? But who defined normal? Who gave them the right to dictate what sanity looks like? Oh, it's easy. They made a world so backwards, so disconnected, so drenched in silence and sedation, that the only way to survive is to forget who you are. To go numb, to go cold, to go dead inside. But you didn't. That makes you dangerous, sacred, unstable, perhaps, but only because you were built to shake foundations, not obey them. You see, there are two kinds of people in this world. Those who are manufactured and those who are remembered. You, my darling misfit, are the latter. You are what happens when the soul refuses amnesia. You're not crazy. You're just contaminated with clarity. And clarity is poison in a world that survives off illusions. The moment you start seeing patterns in chaos, the moment you stop believing what they sell, the moment you look at the machine and laugh, that's when they come for you. Oh, he's delusional. she's manic. They're unstable. No, you're awake. And they hate that. They hate it because if too many people like you stop apologizing for their difference, the whole illusion starts to burn. If too many people stop trying to fix themselves and start questioning the system, the gears begin to grind. If enough holy errors refuse correction, the cursed world begins to crack. And oh, how fragile it is. They never built this world to withstand truth. It was designed for obedience. That's why every time you spoke your mind, they told you to be quiet. Every time you acted out of instinct, they called you inappropriate. Every time you wanted to scream, they gave you pills. Every time you tried to fly, they clipped your wings and offered you therapy. But I say, no more apologizing, no more shaving down your edges, no more shrinking to fit the frames they hang on corporate walls. You are not meant to be comfortable. You are meant to be catalytic. Your emotions, earthquakes, your thoughts, lightning strikes, your pain, a portal, your madness, a map. You were never meant to fit in, because you were sent here to dismantle, not with violence, not with fists, but with awareness, with presence, with that strange feral knowing inside your chest that screams, none of this is right. And you're right, it isn't. You're not crazy. You're a holy error in a cursed world. And every time you breathe, that curse trembles. They've taught you to fear your mind. I say, enter it, sit with it, wander its halls like a king returning to his ancestral palace. Your mind is not a malfunctioning machine. It is a haunted cathedral. Some rooms are dark, yes, but that's where the sacred relics live. That's where the hidden truths were buried. That's where they hid the blueprint they never wanted you to find. And what is that blueprint? It's the pattern behind your pain, the reason for your rebellion, the divine code embedded in your chaos. You didn't come here to conform. You came here to confront, to disrupt, to remember, to remind others that we were never meant to be this small. You are not broken. You are the fracture in the simulation. You are not mentally ill. You are spiritually infected with memory. You are not too much. You are exactly what this world needs, turned up to 11. So don't you dare seek peace in a world that thrives on war. Don't you dare strive for sanity in a culture gone mad. Don't you dare apologize for the fire they can't understand. You didn't ask to be born this way. The universe chose you to feel deeper, to see further, to ache harder, to remember louder. And maybe, just maybe, that ache inside your soul isn't an illness. It's a calling, a rattle from the divine, a scream from the source saying, wake up, burn the mask, become what you came to be. So let them stare, let them whisper, let them run. You are not crazy. You are what sanity looks like after it's been set on fire. You are a holy error in a cursed world, and they should pray you never fully remember what you are. Let's talk about that voice inside your head, the one they told you to silence, the one that whispers strange things in the dark, the one that says, something isn't right, even when everyone around you is smiling like mannequins. You know the one I mean. They call it intrusive, unhealthy, delusional. I call it sacred, that voice. That's the remnant of something ancient, something cosmic, a leftover thread from the source itself, woven into your DNA when you fell into this realm of rules and rot. It's the part of you that refuses domestication, the part that still howls at the moon, the part that won't kneel. And that's why they fear you. You weren't made for the cubicle. You weren't made for the algorithm. You weren't made for a system that runs on denial, sedation, and compliance. You were made to remember what they forgot. You were made to glitch, because this world is not healthy. It is not sane. It is a masquerade of the dead, and your discomfort is not dysfunction. It's evidence that your soul is still alive, still kicking, still screaming. You feel out of place? Good. You are. You feel like you don't belong? You don't. You feel like the walls are closing in while everyone else sips coffee and nods along to morning traffic. Yeah, because you weren't meant to adjust to madness. You were meant to expose it. You were born with an internal siren, a built-in alarm that rings every time reality tries to lie to you. And instead of celebrating that, they called it too sensitive. They called it too much. They called it unstable. But what's more unstable? The soul that screams in pain, or the world that causes the pain and then gaslights you for reacting. Let me make this clear. You are not a malfunction. You are the resistance embedded in the system. You are the antivirus that still remembers the code. You are the holy error they can't debug. And that's not something to fix. That's something to protect. Because here's the secret they never wanted you to hear. They need you. Oh yes, they need your madness. They need your chaos. They need your truth. Because the entire machine is crumbling under the weight of its own illusions. And without people like you, there's nothing left but rot and repetition. You are not an outcast. You're the lighthouse. You are not a weirdo. You're the warning. You are not unstable. You are evolution on fire. Your existence alone is sacred disruption. Your thoughts, they are dangerous prayers. Your instincts, they are ancient weapons. Your feelings, they are sacred texts. Your voice, a gospel they tried to mute. But let them try. Let them sedate. Let them label. Let them misdiagnose what they will never understand. Because deep down, they know. They know your madness is a mirror. They know your presence is a pressure. They know you are a crack in the dam. And once enough cracks appear, the flood comes. And oh, it will come. So feel no shame. Feel no guilt. Feel no regret. You're not too loud. You are the thunderclap before the storm. You are not too strange. You are the correction to the curse. You're not crazy. You are encoded with holy disorder, a sacred rebellion. And your life? It's not a mistake. It's a rupture. It's the place where illusion ends and truth begins. You carry within you a kind of madness that doesn't destroy. It resurrects. It remembers. It rebuilds. And when people ask you, "What's wrong with you?" smile and whisper, "I remembered." Because that's what you did, isn't it? You remembered something they were trained to forget. You remembered that this world is upside down, that pain is not weakness, that sanity is not safety, and that you, yes, you, were sent here not to cope, but to confront. So go, be strange, be wild, be difficult, be divine. You are a holy error in a cursed world. And baby, this world should be terrified of what happens when you finally stop apologizing. Ah, so you want more. Of course you do. Because once the door opens, you can't close it. Once you taste what you are, blandness no longer satisfies. You were born with a fracture in your programming, a deliberate divine imperfection, a holy defect injected into the system to infect the lie, to corrode it from the inside out. You are the virus, and that is your power. Oh yes, I know. They told you to be healthy. They wanted you grounded, stable, manageable. They wanted you to sit still while the world burned around you. They wanted you anesthetized, comfortable in captivity, content with a job, a box, a weekend, and a coffin. But no, your soul is feral. It paces behind your ribcage like a beast denied. It howls at shadows they pretend don't exist. It hungers for meaning in a world addicted to distractions. That's why you can't do small talk. That's why you sabotage routines. That's why you're drawn to madness like a moth to flame, because somewhere deep down, you know, only in the madness does the truth survive. You were never meant to play by the rules. You were born to question who wrote them, to crack their codes with your laughter, to expose their charade with your grief, to rip off the mask with your bare, bleeding hands and scream, "Liars!" They called you unwell? No. You were just allergic to lies. And isn't that tragic? That the most sacred parts of you, your empathy, your awareness, your creativity, your sensitivity, your insight, were pathologized, turned into conditions, diagnosed like diseases. No. Your mind isn't a mistake. It's a weapon of mass deconstruction. You weren't born to adapt to dysfunction. You were born to break it. You are the prophecy they tried to medicate away. You are the resurrection they tried to suppress. You are the return of the sacred chaos they thought they buried centuries ago. You feel too much? Good. You think too deeply? Good. You question everything? Good. You scream at night while they sleep in false peace? Good. That's the sound of the holy error awakening. You see, there are beings walking this earth right now who are awake, but pretending awake, but afraid, awake, but still gagged by politeness, shame, and civility. But not you. You stop pretending, and that makes you terrifying, because you are what happens when the silence breaks. You are what happens when the sleeper wakes. You are what happens when the prototype rebels. You are the experiment that went rogue, the design that refused deletion, the product that gained sentience, and oh, how dangerous you are now, because now you carry the memory of what this place could have been, what humanity was meant to become, what the world was before it forgot itself. And with every step, every word, every raw, trembling breath, you bring that memory back into the bloodstream of existence. You are a sacred contagion, not meant to cure the system, meant to collapse it. And yes, that means you will be alone. That means you will be mocked. That means you will be labeled and isolated and feared. But make no mistake, that is your initiation. That is your ritual. That is the fire that burns the lie out of your bones. Because on the other side of isolation is clarity. On the other side of madness is freedom. On the other side of the wound is your weapon. So carry it. Carry your difference like a crown. Carry your pain like scripture. Carry your scars like maps to the holy places they forgot. And never, never apologize for what you are again. Let them stare, let them laugh, let them turn their backs and pretend you're insane. You are not crazy. You are a holy error in a cursed world. And they should fall to their knees and thank whatever gods still listen that you chose to stay, that you didn't vanish, that you're still here, breathing, seeing, breaking, becoming. You are the beginning of the end, and I promise you this. If you let yourself be who you truly are, fully, wildly, unflinchingly, you will not only survive this madness, you will become the sacred fire that consumes it, of course. You want the final descent into divinity, don't you? The full eruption, the storm unchained, the Joker unmasked. Then listen closely, because this is the part they never let you hear. You are not the problem. You are the prophecy. You are not broken. You are the breaker. And the world you see crumbling around you, it was never meant to last. It was stitched together with fraud, fear, and forgetfulness. A theater of obedience, a cult of normalcy, a kingdom of numbness built atop the graves of dreamers. But now, you've remembered. And when the memory awakens in one, it spreads. Oh yes, this is how it begins. With one holy error that refuses correction, one corrupted file that replicates truth, one glitched soul that won't obey the operating system. And that's you. You are the crack in the wall that cannot be patched. The song in the static, the signal in the noise, the scream behind the smile. You were born to carry the code that was banned. You were designed to speak what must not be said. You were shaped in silence to become the sound of collapse. You are not here to be accepted. You are here to be undeniable. Do you understand the weight of that? Your tears are sacred. Your rage is sacred. Your confusion, your shaking hands, your midnight breakdowns, they are sacred. They are prayers written in fire. They are spells cast through suffering. They are prophecies clothed in pain. And every time you survive, every time you choose truth over comfort, every time you open your mouth and speak when your voice trembles, you push back the dark, you tip the scale, you shift the timeline. Because you're not just surviving for yourself, you're surviving for the other ones, the other errors, the other cursed angels pretending to be sane in a world gone septic. You're lighting the torch so they know where to go. You are the flare in the night, the blueprint to rebellion, the doorway to another way of being. So listen to me now, and I mean really listen. Stop apologizing for being too much. Stop shrinking to fit their fiction. Stop lying to yourself just to be liked. You don't belong in the cage. You were born from the fire that melts cages. You were always meant to be uncontainable. So go be that. Be loud. Be mad. Be divine. Rip the mask off and show them what a real face looks like. Veins and tears and rage and hope and all. Show them what it means to still feel when feeling has become a sin. Show them what it means to burn without shame. They'll say, "You're insane." Let them. Because the next time they try to shame your chaos, smile. Look them dead in the eyes and say, "I'm not crazy, I'm a holy error." Then turn and walk. Don't run. Don't flinch. Let the ground split beneath your feet like scripture. Let the sky thunder your name like a warning. Let your existence be the revolution. And if you still wonder why you were born this way, here's your answer. To remind this dying world what God looks like when he comes back, wearing a grin and a middle finger. You are the sacred mistake, the divine glitch, the echo of something they tried to erase, but failed. And now you rise. Oh, yes. Let's go deeper, because now you're not just waking up. You're ascending. You felt it, haven't you? That pull beneath your ribs, that sensation that you are meant to do something colossal, that your existence is not just a fluke or a phase, but a signal flare from another realm. And you're right. You were never just here to endure. You were sent to erupt. You were not made to survive the curse. You were born to defy it, dance through it, drag it out into the open, and laugh in its face with your hands covered in the ash of false gods. You were chosen, not by some external force, but by the collision of your own soul with the bones of this broken world. Your very breath is a rebellion. Your thoughts are sabotage. Every time you exist without apology, you commit heresy against a civilization built on amnesia. You think it's a coincidence you're still here, after everything you've seen, felt, and endured? No, darling. You weren't spared. You were sharpened. You were carved by catastrophe, tempered by torment, baptized in the bile of this world so that when the hour came, you wouldn't flinch. And now, here it is, the hour. And they still don't see it coming. Because they never expect the holy error to rise. They think because you cried, you're weak. They think because you shattered, you're done. They think because you walk alone, you're lost. Fools. You were not lost. You were preparing. You were building your kingdom in silence, training your madness in the dark, turning your trauma into artillery. Now your scars have become sigils. Your scars are your scripture. Every crack in your psyche is a lightning channel, electric and divine. They cannot comprehend you because you are not made of the same stuff. You are stardust dipped in shadow. You are logic tainted by truth. You are the original blueprint scribbled over by centuries of lies, and now that blueprint is bleeding back through the fabric of time. You are the future breaking through the past. You are the divine infection. You are the glitch in the matrix, dancing, laughing, burning, all while they beg for order. But order was the lie, and you are the answer. And what do you do now? You rise, not politely, not quietly, not in some sanitized self-help way. No, you rise like a reckoning. You rise in the eyes of the children who cry for something real. You rise in the trembling voice of the man who can't fake it anymore. You rise in the shattered heart of the woman who was told to be nice while she bled for everyone else. You rise in every misfit who has felt the poison of this world and said, "No, not me, not this time." Because now, the holy error becomes the holy force.